Doug Peterson was going to be fired. People don't realize he actually was fired. Doug Peterson was fired. So you may be asking, then how is he still coaching the Jacksonville Jaguars? It's because, Denny, he's using our third foolproof method to save your job. What is it?
Show up. Show up. You get fired, you show up. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's not even that hard. Just keep showing up to work, okay? If you have that grind set, if you're really going to put forth an effort, once you get fired, you simply just keep going to work, okay? And that's what Doug Peterson has done here. It's incredible to watch. Honestly, I would say, Pat, I'm inspired. You know, I was fired from Galaxy Brains 8 weeks ago. I keep coming, and you keep recording with me for some reason. And that's what Doug Peterson is doing for Jacksonville.
What the mainstream media doesn't want you to know, but before we get there, a very festive Denny Carter, I'd love to hear your thoughts on last night's game, especially as I would say you're a keeper of the analytics. What did you think of some of Dan Campbell's decision making?
I've been known to dabble in, analytics promotion online, and Dan Campbell is our analytics king. Okay, he remains so. But I have to say, I didn't love the fact that he actually went against the analytics in not kicking the field goal on 4th and inches last night against the Packers. He would have added about 3% to the Lions' win probability if he had kicked that field goal instead of gone for it. So I take no pleasure in saying our guy Dan went against the analytics on that call. It's strange to say.
Yeah, I will say, I think there's this idea that, Dan Campbell, he has a booklet that has all the percentages of everything. I think he just opens a booklet and it just says the word destiny in full caps.
Absolutely.
And he's like, all right, well, destiny again. I guess we're going to go for it again. I think a lot of the time with these 4th down calls, it's not so much the decision, it's the play call, which is deserving of criticism. Like, yeah, on the one that they go for in their own territory, why are you throwing it 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage on a fullback crack? It's like the famous one that started all of this was Belichick going for the 4th and 2 in 2009 in Indianapolis with Brady. It's like, it wasn't the wrong call to go for the 4th and 2. It was the wrong call on 4th and 2 to throw a 1 yard pass to Kevin Falk, short of the sticks. And so I think that with Campbell, the real crazy one was with him was last year in Dallas when he went for the 2-point from the 7-yard line up and they take the penalty. That was insane. With this one, I think it's borderline. I think that the reason why I was okay with it, one, Dan Campbell, just go full Dan Campbell, who cares? The other reason is just that the defense is so banged up and you know that you can effectively win the game by getting a yard. And when you're Dan Campbell, you're never going to turn that down.
That's right. And listen, I'm all for Dan being the face of analytics. We need us nerds. We need a big, strong dude saying, "Hey, we're going to follow the math." I love that. Don't get me wrong.
All right, Denny, who do you got for us this week? Who are the networks just burying? They're putting behind paywalls. I mean, what is going on here?
Yeah, exactly. That's right, Connor. Listen, Chris Hayes had a whole segment this week on Tommy Tremble. Well, guess what? Jatavian Sanders is back, Chris. I don't know if you checked Roto World lately. You should. Jatavian Sanders suffered a neck injury a couple weeks ago for the Panthers. He should be back in action this week against the Eagles in what should be a very pass-heavy script with the Panthers trailing throughout this game against a great Eagles defense, don't get me wrong. But before his injury, Jatavian Sanders had 87 yards on 4 catches in Week 9. A couple weeks later, he had 3 catches for 49 yards before halftime against the Chiefs. Then he suffered the neck injury. I think he was ramping up to be a significant part of this Carolina passing attack, and he should be out there and running a good route rate against Philadelphia. You could do worse, Chris Hayes. You don't talk about Tommy Tremble on air. Come on.
Jay, it feels like a game we've talked about where, the spread is hovering around 12.5 points in favor of Philadelphia. You would think the Panthers will be in a pass script chasing points, and Sanders is a very, his game as a tight end is pass catching first, second, and third.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing, and this is a strange thing to say about Bryce Young, but mobile quarterbacks are more immune to great defenses because they can create more outside of structure when players are perfectly covered. That doesn't mean game over. And so Bryce Young, what he has shown since he's come back as a new reinvented player who's rediscovered his confidence is that he can create outside of structure. He can avoid pressure and avoid those turning into sacks. So I think that just with the game script, with what Bryce Young has shown, Sanders is much more interesting than he would have been a few weeks ago.
Denny, up in Buffalo, there's a lot of coverage on Josh Allen's MVP campaign, James Cook being a touchdown merchant, some would say, but nobody's talking about the rookie and Ray Davis. Enlighten us.
That's right. Look, Ray Davis is getting action in this Buffalo backfield. I know the Bills have been pass heavy over the past 4 to 6 weeks, but I do think that they want to be a run first team overall, and they could have a chance this week against the Rams. The Rams have kind of snuck up on us. By us, I mean spreadsheet warriors, as a definite run funnel defense, and that's what we have here. I think the Bills should be pretty run heavy here, should have game script on their side. Ray Davis over the past 2 games, 16 rushing attempts to only 23 for James Cook. So I could definitely see Ray Davis getting 10 touches here. And his explosiveness, you never know, he could get a touchdown. So with 6 teams on bye, and everybody knows this, the bye apocalypse is back for some reason, and it's worse than ever. I think you can plug him in if you're a desperate running back. And let me tell you guys, I'm desperate at running back.
Yeah, I think the thing too is that the Rams' run defense, it had turned the corner slightly, but that was going up against bad running backs and bad rushing offenses. And they played Saquon Barkley on Sunday Night Football, and he went for literally over 300 yards. So I think this Bills offense, as a way to, the one good thing that the Rams defense does is get pressure. With the season that Jared Verse is having, and that defensive line has been better than expected in the absence of Aaron Donald. But one way to mitigate that is just by running straight into it. And Ray Davis, I suspect, will have a role this weekend.
Our last one here, Denny, Aidan O'Connell. For those of us, and all 3 of us do, play in the league of assholes here. You're probably desperate for a second quarterback during an awful stretch of players on a bye, as it wouldn't get in for some people. Some people it's seeding. Aidan O'Connell against the Bucs, which has been one of the worst secondaries in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good matchup for him. I will say, I believe my playoff chances are done in that league. My team is called the Analytics. The Analytics have failed, unfortunately, for the first time in that league. Don't tell Dan Campbell, please. But yeah, Aidan O'Connell, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns last week against Kansas City. The Raiders weren't super pass heavy as far as, pass rate over expected, other nerdy things. But yeah, I think that they will be in this game because, again, we have a pass funnel defense, one of the most extreme pass funnels in the league in Tampa. The Bucs are allowing the 2nd most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. This game has a 46-point total, which is the 4th most of the week. I think it has nice shootout potential here.
I think if Aidan O'Connell keeps playing well as he did against Kansas City, I think at some point the mustache has to go. Like, even just looking at it on the graphic now, having seen it up a few yards away from me at the Super Bowl when we interviewed him on Radio Row, it is very, very jarring. But whatever works for him.
Look, I'm all for facial hair if you want it, but maybe just wait 3 or 4 more years. Wait till it gets a little coarser there, Aidan, and then grow the mustache.
It's unbelievable. What is also unbelievable is how good Brock Bowers is. And I think the thing with Aidan O'Connell is that he has figured out the cheat code to the Raiders offense, which is just throw it to Brock Bowers, where he seems to have the connection with Bowers. Bowers has had great games with AOC at quarterback. Bowers is set at over 70.5 receiving yards on DraftKings, which is crazy for a tight end. The only guy who really gets that territory in the past couple of years has really just been Travis Kelce beyond that. So I think that Aidan O'Connell should be able to put up numbers in a very favorable matchup.
Is there anything he could do to make a claim for Offensive Rookie of the Year, or is it just too quarterback heavy with Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix? Because the gap is, the beginning of the week, Brock Bowers was 10-1.
Yep.
Bo Nix was right around plus 185,
Yep.
and Jaden Daniels was obviously a minus favorite.
Yeah, so I actually think Brock Bowers is just as likely as Bo Nix to win, because it's kind of like if you want to beat the best swordsman, you don't want to be the second best swordsman, you want to be the most unconventional, and Bowers is unconventional as a case, whereas I don't think anyone thinks Bo Nix is better than Jaden Daniels, right? So I think with Bowers, it's not so much anything that he can do, it's more just what people want to make the award. Like if it's most valuable rookie, yeah, then it's Jaden Daniels. If it's most outstanding rookie, then there's a chance that relative to position that Brock Bowers is the guy. Like Brock Bowers might finish top 4 in the NFL in receiving yards, break the all-time rookie receptions record. Like he's having a historic season. And look, I've bet more on Brock Bowers than Jaden Daniels, so I'd very much like him to win, but I think Jaden Daniels probably deserves to win.
Denny, after crunching the numbers, is Brock Bowers going to be a first-round pick next year in redraft?
He absolutely will be. It could, because I mean he's giving you wide receiver production at the tight end spot, right? Now, do I think that that's smart? Do I think that I'm going to be doing that? I don't think so. I mean, generally, making that bet, like taking a tight end in the first round, has been a little bit dicey for fantasy purposes. We saw it back in the day with Jimmy Graham and Gronk, and then a little bit with Travis Kelce. But yeah, I could see him going in the top 12 picks for sure.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.